Welcome to As the Story Grows. I'm Brian Patton. Happy Friday. It's another Friday pod.
It's Friday, gotta get down on Friday. Everybody's looking forward to the weekend. Friday, getting down on Friday. Everybody's looking forward to
I'm super stoked for this week's pod. Lots and lots of music news, lots of reunions, lots of tours, lots of new singles and new albums coming out to dive into. And then after we get through the music news, I'm going to talk about some records that I have been digging a lot lately, stuff I found on Bandcamp, stuff that is coming out that may not be top of mind or you might not have knowledge about, and just some other music that I've been going through this week. A little behind the scenes. Between promos and Bandcamp, I just keep all the records I download, all the digital records I get on my desktop, and then I put them on my phone and I listen to them on my phone while running, riding my bike, folding laundry, whatever. And I have let the albums on my desktop and on my phone grow without listening to them, as I've been listening to audiobooks or podcasts or other things. And it was quite embarrassing. But this week I sat down and I was like, I'm going to go through all of the albums on my desk, clear out that backup, so I can take all the zip files of albums in my downloads folder and put them on my desktop and on my phone. So I got more music to get into. Also, it's Friday, so there's new release Friday. But we are going to start with Furnace Fest. We should just call this first segment Furnace Fest Friday. And I'm recording on Thursday. Furnace Fest is for sure going to announce a huge band on Friday that I will have missed. But last Friday, after the podcast dropped, I said they announced Taste the Day right after the podcast dropped 2 Fridays ago. And last week, the podcast dropped, and then Furnace Fest announced that Chasing Victory was playing Furnace Fest. Chasing Victory is a band that was not really on my radar a whole lot. Wolves, from their second record, Fiends, I really liked. Unrequited Love from I Call This Abandonment was pretty good. But Chasing Victory was not a band I was huge into at the time. I was just not part of that scene at that time. But I know a lot of people are stoked for Chasing Victory. Furnace Fest also announced Prayer for Cleansing, North Carolina metal legends. I gotta be honest, I did not know about Prayer for Cleansing. And it was a little back and forth on the Discord page as I was like, I know nothing about these guys. But I went and listened to their record. If you don't know about Prayer for Cleansing, members of Between the Buried and Me started off in this band. It's 90s, that mid-90s hardcore, metalcore vibe. And I listened to the record and I like it. It's fine. I think if they were a band I had attached to at the time, I would be more stoked for it. I didn't know about this band until yesterday. And then their record sounds cool. I dig it. Maybe if I spend time with it, I'll really connect with it. But I know a lot of people are stoked for Prayer for Cleansing. And so that's a huge one for Furnace Fest. For me, the big addition to Furnace Fest that I was stoked about, Bane is playing Furnace Fest last week. We talked about the 2 shows that Bane announced, and Bane has now been added to Furnace Fest. So they'll play their 2 shows in June up in New England, and then they'll head down to Alabama for Furnace Fest. Furnace Fest, again, is just shaping up to be ridiculous. Turnstile, Between the Buried and Me, Haste the Day, Bane, Extol, Seosin, Zeo, It Dies Today, A Plea for Purging, Training for Utopia, Chasing Victory, May, Strife, Defeater, 90-Pound Wuss, Blessed by a Broken Heart, Inclination Valley Heart, Gorilla Biscuits, Foreign Hands. It's going to be great. I'm also stoked on September 22nd, a pre-show Shed Bash that features Hatebreed, Norma Jean, Walls of Jericho, Gideon, Vane, With Blood Comes Cleansing, and more. Just going to be a bonkers time down in Alabama. I would love to go. I want to be there. I want to go. Let's start a campaign to get As the Story Grows to Furnace Fest. Post on their socials, send them messages, say, we want to see As the Story Grows live from Furnace Fest. Let's make this happen. Furnace Fest Friday, I look forward to talking about whatever crazy reunion or band is playing the festival next Friday as Furnace Fest continues to just unleash killer reunions and killer announcements. But Furnace Fest isn't the only one dropping major reunion news. Indecision Records' 30th anniversary festival has announced that Unbroken and Beyond Repair are playing. Beyond Repair is a throwdown tribute. It features current and past members of the band performing their earlier material. They'll be playing tracks from Beyond Repair and You Don't Have to Be Blood. And Throwdown said, maybe Drive Me Dead and Face the Mirror. That festival is happening July 28th and 29th in Garden Grove, California. And tickets will be on sale today. Along with Unbroken on Saturday, July 29th, The Suicide File, Undertow, and Strife are all playing. Further artists for both dates are still pending. Super stoked. That's just a massive announcement. I'm so stoked for Unbroken to play. Life, Love, Regret is one of the quintessential hardcore records in my mind, and it is to a lot of people. Highly influential record, and super stoked for that. Speaking of reunions, Botch has announced a full U.S. tour. That includes a stop in Baltimore on November 14th, 2 days after my birthday, so I am so stoked. Got to talk to my wife. Definitely am stoked to go see Botch play. I said if Botch was announced for Furnace Fest, I would go because I've never seen Botch. But the band is going on tour, starting with their October shows in Portland, which have been previously announced. The band will then go Chicago, Texas, Colorado, New York, Maryland, Pennsylvania, Massachusetts, and then out to California for a few dates. So, if you've never seen Botch and they're coming to a city near you, go see Botch. That itch gets you. You play one reunion show, and then you want to play a lot of reunion shows. You start rehearsing, it's fun again, you get out there. I think this is what happened with Stretch Armstrong. They played Furnace Fest, and then they were like, being in a band is fun again. And there's no pressure to sell a bunch of records or make money or tour. And if you want to tour, you can, and you can play shows when you want to, and you can write new music. I am going to hold out hope that there is more new music from Botch coming, because originally they were just releasing music on vinyl, which turned into a new song, which has turned into a show, which has turned into a tour. So no band has ever done. Who was on the podcast? You said just never quit. I think it was Cody from As Cities Burn. He said just never quit. Just never say you're breaking up. So Botch is back. Go see them. In non-reunion music news, Underoath has announced that they have signed with MNRK Heavy. They have a new single coming out on March 3rd called Let Go. They have launched a website called teachmetoletgo.com. That is the teaser site for the new single, and will probably have pre-orders for whatever that record is. And will likely have pre-orders for the album that will go with that single. The band said, choosing who we partner with releasing our music is always a huge decision. The team at MNRK simply rules, understand our vision, and is passionate about the music. We couldn't be more excited and ready to work with them to release some of our favorite work to date. Super stoked to hear what Underoath has up their sleeves. I loved Erase Me. I know I'm in a minority, but I thought Erase Me was Underoath's best work. And then they released Voyeurist last year, and just absolutely blew me away. Phenomenal record. Underoath is on tour starting March 3rd with Periphery and Loathe. That tour kicks off in Silver Spring, Maryland at the Fillmore, and it runs through the beginning of April, where it ends in Nashville. And then they head over to the UK for Slam Dunk Fest. So, new music from Underoath in the works on a brand new label. Super stoked. You like new music? I love new music. The Acacia Strain is releasing new music on May 12th via Rise Records. The album is called Step Into the Light, and they just premiered the second single from that record called Fresh Bones. honestly think I like the first single a little more than this one, but I still think it's really good. And I'm super stoked to hear this new Acacia Strain record. I've only gotten into the Acacia Strain over the last 2 years as I've really dove deep into deathcore and that side of the scene. And you can't argue that the Acacia Strain has released some just absolutely banger records. And I'm stoked for this one coming out May 12th on Rise Records. Speaking of new records coming out, Sleep Token has finally announced their new record, which is called Take Me Back to Eden. That is out May 19th. It's been much rumored. They've released so many singles this year, and they released another one. It's called Vor, V-O-R-E. I'm just going to go with Vor. This is my favorite Sleep Token single yet. I'm super stoked. This is easily the best one. I think it combines the cool, like, spacey, atmospheric, singy elements, and I also think it's heavy in a way that Chokehold was heavy, but this one just vibes with me a little more. So, for a band that before the year began, I wasn't a fan of and had never listened to have me this enraptured by what they're doing is a credit to Sleep Token. And so I'm very excited to see what they deliver on Take Me Back to Eden. Last week, we talked about Attack Attack releasing 2 new songs, Dark Waves and Paralyzed. Attack Attack have announced that they are releasing the Dark Waves EP March 31st on Oxidized Records. Again, they worked with Joey Sturgis, and Attack Attack is on tour starting mid-May, and that tour runs through mid-June. Find tour dates, go check them out. I'm excited to see what Attack Attack has. I dug both the new songs that the band released, and I'm excited to welcome some crabcore into my life. Speaking of tours, Chelsea Grin and Carnifex have announced a co-headlining tour. Left to Suffer and Av Sulfur will be in support. Get ready to deathcore across America. That tour starts April 13th in Phoenix, Arizona, and it runs through mid-May, where it ends in Las Vegas, Nevada. Suffer in Heaven, the second half of their double album, is out on March 17th. Go see Chelsea Grin. I'm super stoked. They're also coming to Baltimore. Baltimore Soundstage, if you heard me talk to Devin from Sanguishigabog, then we talked about Baltimore and the Soundstage and how it's become like this really cool metal hub. And so all these tours that are coming through are going through Baltimore, and they're playing at Soundstage, and it's very cool. Last little bit of music news is there is a new single from Cattle Decapitation called We Eat Our Young. This is the first single from the band's new record called Terrasite, which is out May 12th on Metal Blade Records. Pre-orders are live for that record. Let's listen to a little bit of this. This is super sick. I can't wait to hear the whole record. Cattle Decap is also going on tour with Dark Funeral, 200 Stab Wounds, and Black Braid. They are starting their tour mid-May, and that will also run through mid-June. Lots of music, lots of tours, lots of chances to get involved. Go out and see your favorite band play. It's going to be a good time. I'm just like so geeked up on music. I know that like I mentioned this last week that people kind of get stuck as they get older. And look, I spent the first part of this pod talking about Unbroken and Bane and all these reunion shows and how stoked I am for all of them. But I'm equally stoked for new music, which is where we're going to dive into now. Talk about some new releases this week. And really, there are only 2 that I'm aware of or that are on my radar for this week to highlight. The first one is Half Me's Soma, which is out on Rising Empire Records. I talked to Chris from Half Me for Wednesday's pod. You can listen to that interview as he dives deep into the themes surrounding the record. This is just a really cool hardcore record that takes a lot of inspiration from nu metal. If you listen to Trauma Culture, it sounds like a Korn riff. There are some chugging that's really like new metal inspired. And I just think Half Me is going places. They're a brand new band. They're taking off, and I'm super stoked for them to catch fire. I think they're going to be huge. I think this record is really great. And I think if people give them a chance, they're going to discover a band they really love. So make sure you check out Half Me's Soma. The other record to talk about is Avatar's Dance Devil Dance. I'm stoked for what I was hearing on the new Avatar record, and I think people will dig it. It's got some black metal vibes. It's got some power metal vibes. It's just a really cool sound, and I'm stoked to listen to it and dive into it. All right, let's talk about some tunes that I have been digging and into lately. I'm just going to pull up my iTunes list and go through some of these releases that I've really been into. And I'm going to start with Lumnos. I hope I'm saying that right. Lumnos. Lumnos, not Luminos. Their record is called A Glimpse Through the Event Horizon, and it is kind of post-black metal, ambient black metal, not quite black gaze. It comes to us from Flowing Downward Records. Flowing Downward has released music from Nostalgia, Cora's Heart, Sadness, Rat, Wounds of Reconciliation. They're really occupying A Light in the Dark. If you haven't checked out Insomnia by A Light in the Dark, you absolutely should. Abstract Void, they really occupy that black metal, black gaze, ambient black metal space. They're a really cool record label to check out. And Lumnos is a Brazilian one-man band. On his Bandcamp page, he says lyrical themes based on nature, spiritual, universe, and physics. This record, A Glimpse Through the Event Horizon, is just a really cool ambient record. There are a lot of great electronic elements to this. A lot of clean vocals. It doesn't really strike me as like black metal. I'm sure if I went back through his discography, there's some more black metal elements in it, but this record really strikes me as electronic and in that post-hardcore world. Don't let the term black metal scare you off, because this record is way more grounded and way more composed. It's not just the, really fast tremolo picking blast beats. Like, there's some of that, but it's way more electronic and open and airy, really occupying a post-metal space. But check this record out. I'm going to put a link in the show notes. Check it out. And like I said, it's coming from Flowing Downward Records, which is a label I love a whole lot. And I think people will really dig this record. Next up, I got TANO in TANO Stellar. This is for fans of post-punk, post-hardcore in the vein of Blood Brothers, Showbread, Nations of Ulysses, Refused, Frodis. Think that genre of hardcore and punk rock. That comes to us from Saltamarges Records, which is a label from Spain that really focuses on emo and punk rock and kind of screamo, post-hardcore. They've put out a ton of stuff that I've loved over the years, really a lot of emo stuff. But this new TANO record is just a killer record. Really, if you like emo core and hardcore, post-hardcore, in the vein of those bands I stated already, just a fun, really boisterous record. All the songs are short. There's one song over 2 minutes long. So you're in, you're out. It's a great record. Highly recommend checking that album out. Next up, I want to talk about Erode. Their self-titled EP is out on Medusa's Lair record. That's also a label based in Spain. If you like hardcore in the vein of Terror and Throwdown and All Out War, Harm's Way, this is a record for you. Just great hardcore record. The band is from Maryland. They recorded this at Magpie Cage Studios. Ever heard of it, lad? That is J. Robbins' studio, if you hadn't heard of it. You can get cassettes for this record. They are coming from Spain. You purchase them in euros. The album is Name Your Own Price on Bandcamp. Highly recommend giving this record a spin if you like hardcore, if you want to do spin kicks and punch the air while moshing. Phenomenal hardcore record. Definitely check this one out. Love Erode. And then there's a new split EP from Yashira. Yashira did the split with Zayo. They put out a record in 2020 or 2021 that I really liked. I came too late, but once I heard it, I loved the Yashira record. The track they did with Zayo was incredible. This is a split they did with Horsewhip. This comes from Zigma Beach Records, which is like my favorite record label on Bandcamp. If you like screamo, if you like emo violence, this is the label for you. And they have the new Yashira split, which is just dynamite. Highly recommend checking that out. Super stoked about that album, and I think you guys will like it too. Great Falls put out a new EP called Funny What Survives. Great Falls is a hardcore band from Seattle featuring members of Kiss It Goodbye, Undertow. Their whole discography is up on Bandcamp. All of it is Name Your Own Price. They're a great band to get into if you like bands like Botch, Converge, and Kiss It Goodbye. If you like that mathy, chaotic, hardcore sound, check out Funny What Survives. I'll put the link in the show notes to Funny What Survives. Make sure you check that out. Overseer dropped a brand new self-titled EP. It's got an intro and then 3 tracks. I really thought this EP was phenomenal. I gave it 5 stars in my little rating system on my computer. A big fan of this EP. It's super cool. Highly recommend checking that out. So there are a handful of new albums that I've been digging and listening to a lot lately, as well as some great labels to check out. Zigma Beach, Medusa's Layers, Flowing Downward, Saltilla Marges. Go check out those record labels. Go through their Bandcamp pages. Decide what you like. If you like black metal, there's a label for you. If you like hardcore, there's a label for you. You like emo violence, there's a label for you. There's always new music out there to be discovered. It's such an exciting time to be a music fan because if you like a genre, you can go onto Bandcamp, you can type in that genre, you can find hundreds of bands you've never heard of and discover something you're a fan of. You can go on Spotify and there are tons of bands to discover. If you use Apple Music, I'm sure it's the same way, but I'm very, very excited. Next week on the podcast, we welcome Ian from It Prevails to talk about his new band, Unarmed. I'm super stoked to share that chat with you guys. Getting to hang out and know Ian was really cool. And it's a fun chat, and I'm excited for you guys to hear it next week. If you want to know what's going on with the podcast, you got to join us on Substack. Join the mailing list. Follow our Substack page where I update what's happening with the podcast. On Monday, I gave a deep dive into what led me to the Friday pod and the albums that mattered and how it's brought this nostalgia revival back into the podcast that I was trying to weed out. All of this stuff that's on the Friday pod, we've been talking about it all week over on the As the Story Grows Discord. You got to join us. You got to hang out, talk music, share music links. It's a good time. It's a lot of fun. Thanks so much for hanging out again this Friday. Thanks for listening to As the Story Grows. Our intro music was written and composed by Jeremy Hunt. The As the Story Grows theme is by Bob Nana. If you like what you hear, subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and give us a rating and review. If you'd like to support the show financially, you can join us at patreon.com/asthestorygrows. Be a part of our community and join the ongoing conversation over on Discord. If you enjoy this episode, share it on social media with your friends. Much appreciated, and thanks for listening.
I never felt so young and alive as when I'm diving into a tune. And now I'm learning as I listen along, and the wheels are turning, and I started a song. One good word and I'm gone. Oh, as the story grows, the more I want to know, the more I want to show you. As the story grows, as the story grows. You can create something lasting and great, something passionate and real. And I'll bring in my own good feelings, I'll sing it with meaning. Let's just attack it and never look back. It's wild and fantastic. All together at full power, we're so much better. What's that word?